Thank you so much, Tommy. Well, our guest is the legend, Ardal O'Hanlon!
Oh, yeah.
This is probably your worst nightmare.
No, when we started ages ago, they said to me, like on the first series, they said to me, do you have any conditions? Not conditions, but do you have any rules? And I said, yeah, no friends or comedians. So I was thinking specifically of you.
It'll be your father next.
And here you are.
This is your life.
Yeah. What do we talk about and where do we start, even? Okay, I remember being in Baltimore, in America, with you many years ago, and I found a book called The 1000 Best Novels in English, and your novel, The Talk of the Town, was in it. Do you remember that? And I took a photograph of it.
Yeah, I remember it really well. I mean, I'm so glad you brought that up. No, yeah, I probably didn't tell you this at the time, but that was really one of the happiest moments of my life.
Yeah,
when
it was hard to tell with your face.
I know, but I'm from Monaghan. It's very, very hard to tell what emotion I'm having. I don't even know what emotion I'm having most of the time. But honestly, you came in with that and you showed me. We were about to do a gig in Baltimore that night with Dylan Moran.
Yeah.
And it was really exciting and everything else. And, you know, I was feeling all edgy before the show. And you came in and you said that. I didn't know that my novel was featured in this big tome of all the novels you must read before you die.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
So, you know, it was great. And it was great that you spotted it, that I didn't have to tell you.
Yeah. But you're very well read in the sense that you're a great man for suggesting novelists, and you seem to have an interest in what's happening in European and American literature. So, are you still at that? Are you still devouring modern novels, like?
Well, I try, but like, yeah. I mean, I still love novels. It's still, you know, it's still. I would say it's a passion. I would say, you know, in the absence of any other kind of ideology or anything, it's kind of where I get my inspiration, my solace, my comfort. Most of my ideas.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. But like, not in the last year, probably, no. I watch, you know, endless murders on television. You know, that's what I do now. Like most people, I watch detective shows from around the world, you know. But don't get me wrong, like I'm not all into the whole gloom side of things. Like I love, you know, First Dates Ireland and
Really?
Ireland's Fittest Family. Yes. And I never thought I would even watch these shows like up to earlier this year, and my family watch it, so I have no choice really. But
you can't go to another room, no?
No, but I always say like, oh, you know, I'm not watching this. And you know, like Ireland's Fittest Family comes up, and I go, okay, I'll just go and, you know, do something else, watch the football or something.
Yeah.
And then I kind of stand at the door for 10 minutes, and then before you know it, there's some 14-year-old kid like getting his, you know, get Mammy over the wall, and I'm bawling like within 10 minutes. And I don't know if it's because we're all so sensitive now or what.
Yeah.
And then a thing called Style Counselors comes on, where they dress up a mammy, an Irish mammy who hasn't bought herself a pair of socks for 10 years, and they dress her up. And I find it incredibly moving. And I can't help myself. First Dates Ireland again, I'm in bits.
I remember as well one time do you remember we did, was it 2 or 3 weeks together in New York in the snow?
Yeah, love that.
Around 2001 or something like that.
Around
that time.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying to me that your favourite part of being a stand-up was the moment you walked off stage. And that always stayed with me as a what was that about, do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, I mean, I always felt that I could take it or leave it. But that's not true, actually. And I learned that this year again. I probably learned that I do miss it a lot.
Yeah.
I think it was always a lack of confidence going on, you know. I used to have I used to be terrified of going on stage for a long time.
Even with brilliant material. And you're saying...
I can't really explain it. Like, it's so weird, you know. Yes, I would be aware that some nights it goes really, really well and people like it, and, you know, you've done your job properly and you've prepared really well, and, And when I say nervous before going on, I was always usually fine once I was on.
Yeah.
And then I really enjoyed it, like for the whatever it was, the 20 minutes or the hour or whatever you're doing. But I always remember thinking, like, afterwards coming off, like after about 2 minutes, that kind of high or whatever would kind of just go. And then you'd be dreading the next gig again, almost straight away, like the one tomorrow night. So it was very odd, and it was very kind of, it was kind of destructive for a long time, I would say. It's no way to live your life.
No.
What did you ask me?
How mad did the TED stuff become for you, and how do you look back on all that now?
What I think happens to you, like when you get a big break like that, and like I was in my 30s by then as well, is that you're kind of catapulted into somewhere that you're maybe not quite ready for. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd been in London maybe 2 years, working very hard on the stand-up circuit and traveling up and down the country and doing loads of gigs in London.
And you'd won the Hackney
picked up a few awards and things. So it was going very well, but I wasn't quite ready for the arenas or theatres or whatever, like a bigger arena, if you like, a bigger.
In terms of the quality of your material.
Yeah, or I didn't have a full-length show even. You know what I mean? And like once you do television, then you're pushed into that.
Yeah.
So I was for those few years around Father Ted, it was very exciting, and there was an awful lot of a lot of work and different types of work, and you were being pulled this way and that way. So there was but I was enjoying that. Like it was great. But given my temperament and given my everything else, like I just felt maybe I was taking too much on, or because like my temperament was all about take your time, and sort of
don't show off
and one step at a time, and also like the whole point, and I'm sure it's the same for you, and I know it's the same for a lot of comedians, is like the whole point of doing this in the first place was that you wouldn't be part of a rat race as such.
Yeah.
That it was a kind of you were stepping outside that conventional way of making your living.
Yeah.
And you didn't really think that you were going to make a good living at any stage.
Yeah. But looking back now, you're in your 50s. Do you find yourself thinking much about growing up in Monaghan?
I do, yeah. I do. It's funny, like, and particularly during the last few months, again, a lot of time for reflecting. I went through old diaries, old photographs.
Yeah.
And I know we create all these myths about ourselves, and we create a narrative for ourselves. This is how we I suppose, deal with stuff. And, I know that I have a kind of a narrative about myself growing up, that I was quite a shy kid and everything else. But one of the things I was doing recently was watching old home movies of when I was a kid and showing my kids the old home movies. And it was kind of embarrassing because like in literally every single scene, I'm doing something outrageous. I'm showing up. I'm making a stupid face, or I'm doing a funny walk, or I'm pulling up my shirt. And I'm totally undermining everyone and everything. Yeah. And that's from the age of about 4. And so, that if I had kids like that, I'd be getting them help. Do you know what I mean? But it was interesting, and like a lot of the stuff I've been writing during the last number of months has been sort of like really kind of funny, based on funny childhood memories, funny childhood stories and stuff.
Do you have a favourite moment from TED?
Oh, I have so many favourite moments.
My favourite one is where yourself and Ted go to bed, and Ted turns off the light, and then he remembers something and he turns it on again. And you go, ah!
Yeah. Oh, there's so many
genius
favourite moments.
Stuff, really.
Many favourite moments, yeah. There's always one, like this one I just love, and it comes on a closing title sequence, and there was an all-priest sports day, and all the priests end up in a big fight at the end. And Dougal does something really out of character, and he does the boldest thing he's ever done in his life. Can I stand up and show you? So it's sort of like they're all fighting there, and Dougal is looking on, and he's really kind of shocked, and then he sort of looks around, and then he just goes over and he just kicks someone, and then he just runs away.
Wow.
That was probably my
Yeah.
One of my favourite moments. Whenever I see that coming on, I have a little chuckle.
And would you laugh at other bits of it, of the show?
Yeah, I would. Yeah. I mean, I would never sit down to watch it, but it'd often come on, and
Yeah, yeah.
some of them at home would be watching it. And
It often come on by itself. How did that happen?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Back on Ireland's Fittest Family. So they did be on, and again, you'd linger for a minute or two just to see something. And I'm always struck by how unprofessional I am, actually. Like,
Really?
I'm often laughing in the background. Smiling.
But were they not part of Dougal's?
No, not really. Sometimes it probably was just gormless grinning, but sometimes it's me laughing at something that Dermot or someone else is doing. You know, just laughing at the whole thing. Like, it was a great laugh. You were there.
Yeah,
you saw it. Like, it was great fun.
Yeah.
And, you know, the whole process was such good fun. You know.
I have a sense of Monaghan being probably the toughest of those border counties. Now, you'd have gone to primary school in Carrickmacross and then boarding school in Dublin.
Yeah.
What was that experience like of one almost completely different environment to another?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was kind of odd. Like, again, you know, I've actually been thinking about that quite a lot. Like, because, you know, you do think about, like, you know, how do I end up where I ended up and everything. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a, you know, really, you know, a very happy home, and you know, we were a very close family. So to be sent away to boarding school is actually a big thing. And you're always told, like, it's a privilege, and in hindsight, yeah, you can see that, like, it's a privileged education.
Which bit of it, now, which boarding school were you sent to?
I was sent to one in Dublin called Blackrock College.
Now, which bit of it is privilege in terms of you're in both places, you're just doing your leaving cert?
Yeah, but I suppose because these kind of schools have a certain cachet, like, you know, you get a very good education, you get a very good extracurricular education in terms of the sports and music and drama, if that's what you're into. I wasn't into that at the time, but it doesn't seem like a privilege when you're there, because you're you know, you're separated from your family, you're eating appalling food, you've got to have your wits about you, you know, you've got to navigate your way through all sorts of
hierarchies,
things and everything else, and so you become, I think what it does for you is you become very independent and very self-sufficient, and perhaps too much so in some ways, where you're not as, you know, where you put this armor around yourself, you know, and so you develop good skills. You become very tactful, you become very diplomatic, you become very slippery, you know, you develop a thick skin, you know, you get the bargaining skills of a Turkish carpet seller, you know, you're prepared for life and a career in comedy and all those kind of things. You know, maybe you become a bit closed in as well, you know, this kind of independent streak that you have, you know, or maybe you're not as intimate with people as you might like to be, you know.
And you reckon that's a boarding school thing?
I think so. I think being cast into an all-male environment at a young age, you know, where it is kind of sink or swim. Now, that's not to take anything away from the 95% of really good people who you know, who run these places. And it's not to take anything away from the brilliant blokes that, you know, are part of your life for 5 or 6 years. But, you know, it is a kind of sink or swim environment, and you do, you know, have to, you know, you do learn a lot, and you do become very resourceful.
So
you know?
you're taken away from mum and dad.
Yeah, you're away from home. You're away from the comforts of home. You're away from that constant love and affection.
Yeah.
You know, that kids thrive on.
Do you find now, as you get older, that your relationship with your parents changes? You know, have you noticed, like, your dad was a politician, you know, so would have had a national profile, would have spent time on the road and stuff like that, and would have been under pressure. And as your mum was at home?
She was at home mostly, yeah. She was a teacher. She loved books and art and music and all that kind of stuff, you know, and she kind of instilled that love of books in me from a very early age. And she was always there, you know, my most treasured memory is coming home from school and having a cup of coffee with my mother. Like, I was a very old-fashioned kid, and toast and honey, and a cup of coffee, and you chat to her in the kitchen, and and that's and I think as time has gone on, like certainly in the last year or so, getting very close to them. You know, we talk a lot, most days, or 3 or 4 times a week on the phone. And all that kind of thing, yeah.
And do you find chatting to them easy?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, easy and enjoyable. You know, and getting to know them in a way that I just like. Oh God, we take our parents so much for granted, and our mothers particularly. I think, you know, just getting to know your parents is amazing. I've learned so much about them over the last few months. Stuff I would not have known growing up.
So, just going back to your dad. Because I remember that great joke you used to have, which was you got a price sticker and you put it on the fridge, and your dad came in and you said, "Look, Dad, the fridge cost 8 pence," and he goes, "No, son, it cost 150 quid, sorry to disappoint you," or something like that. So the even though it's a joke, the image you were setting up was of this kind of carefree, surreal fairy child and this austere, no-crack dad.
It's very unfair on him, really. I mean, he was actually a good crack dad.
Yeah.
You know, he was very playful actually when he was with us.
Yeah.
He was a very serious man in his working life, but at home he was generally very playful. He wasn't around an awful lot because he was a very busy man, but he was quite playful. So I probably did him a disservice with that joke. And other jokes, I have no doubt. But there's an element of that. Like, as a kid, you live in your little fantasy world, and you know, you make up stories, and you know, most people don't get you. Like, they really don't. You know, and they still don't to some degree. They don't understand why you would live like this.
Yeah.
Why would anyone live like that? You know.
It's a queer talent and inclination to be on your own on stage telling jokes, isn't it? It's I still can't really explain it. Yeah.
Can you? I mean,
no, but I can see the seeds of it. So I can see the seeds from myself of, like, by the time I was 8, I'd lived in 4 different countries, and this was my 7th different school. You know, so I've always been the new boy, and the inclination then to like talking and to realise that if you make people laugh, you're kind of accepted. So I can see the seeds of it. Yeah.
But I do think that human beings generally we're very neurotic. We don't always acknowledge that, how neurotic we are as a species.
Yeah.
How anxiety is probably the default emotion for most people. And, you know, we talk a lot in this country about mental health lately, which is a good thing. And but it strikes me that, you know, we're the only species that knows that we're going to die, for a start. And that surely plays a part in the way we behave, the way we carry on. And so I think it's kind of, like, I always felt from quite an early age that it was quite normal, or like I was surprised that more people weren't talking out loud about all the kind of stuff that we talk about on stage, or that writers write about, or that musicians sing about.
Yeah.
You know, I like, to me, that's what we should be doing all the time, really.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on to the show. It's been, as always, good to talk.
Absolute pleasure. It's the only way I get to see you nowadays.